over and over again, I saw teachers who had no special education training have students uh, integrated into their classroom who really needed a teacher with special education training, or at least with some training, but there was nothing for the teachers.
Mhm.
So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to write the book, so that like people, when all of a sudden they have, an autistic child in their class, they would have a resource. Or perhaps a child with anxiety or a child with depression and they weren't sure what to do, they'd have a resource. When you implement things to help kids with special needs, it helps the whole classroom. The book also has like just I call it the usual suspects, like how do you connect with the usual suspects, and just like really it's a toolbox, not a solution book, but a toolbox, so that if you've tried your regular tools and they don't seem to be connecting with this child, you can try a few more. That's the idea. Everyone thinks they're doing a bad job. You're probably doing a great job. I think that would be my advice. Like, you're probably doing awesome. Like it always feels like, we're not doing really well, or we could be doing more, and teachers go home so discouraged. But in reality, even if you were a trained teacher, the first little bit's hard, like
Mhm.
it takes a while to get to know the students and to figure out what works. And I think my advice would be, you're doing great. Like, the teachers who pick this up, a lot of them are going to be desperate. Like, they've tried everything, so they're looking for anything that will help. um, yeah, it does help. There are mindsets that do help when you're teaching students who tend to be more difficult. I think the one that helps the most is, sort of traditionally we think that when students aren't doing what we ask, it's because they want to do their own thing.
Mhm.
um, but actually, most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, they don't have the skills to do what we're asking.
Mhm.
So if you sort of change your mindset from they want to be behaving that way to they don't know how to do what I'm asking, it really helps. Like, it helps me be a lot less angry, which is very
Yeah.
helpful. The idea of the book was that um, as teachers, a big part of our job is connecting with kids.
Mhm.
And so most teachers are really good at that because that's why they became a teacher. They're good at connecting with kids. But then there's always situations where it's difficult, or, it seems like it shouldn't be difficult, but you're just not connecting. So my thing was like, how can how can we help each other really? Like, these are some of my ideas. And then when I do workshops on this book, then other teachers give me their ideas, and I steal all the best ideas. It's great. Like, the kids need the connection. And it's so much better as a teacher if you're really connected with the kids. Like, it's more fun and it goes easier. It's just better for everyone. So my goal was like, yeah, when it's maybe a little bit more difficult, like helping, giving some more ideas. Of course, every teacher has their own style, right? So like some things that other people do won't fit my style at all, so I can't use those. But then there's other things I can use. So in the book, when I go through like the slapstick comedy, that might not be for everyone,
Mhm.
but there might be some kids where that's the first time they ever smile in your class.
Right.
Like when you pretend to drop the chalk 3 times.
Mhm.
Even if you can find one new tool, sometimes it just opens up a whole new area or a whole new door, or one or two of the kids in your class just open right up. It makes a huge difference. That's right. The first book was for substitute teachers, and as Mary, the owner of Pembroke, and I were talking, she was saying, Amanda, you've connected with a lot of kids. You probably have a lot to say about that. And as I thought about it, I'm like, oh, wow, she's right. I have used so many different tools and learned so many different tools that it, like, being a substitute teacher did help me with that.
Right.
Although I have also had years of having my own classroom as well. So there's both there. Yeah.
Right.
When you have your own classroom, you have time to build the relationship, to get to know their home life a bit, to get to know from other teachers how they've been in past years. And, as a substitute teacher, you come in and you have to connect like right away. So you
Mhm.
have to have some tricks. And um, the way I encourage people to do it is to have fun with the students,
Mm-hmm.
because when you have fun with children, it builds trust, and they're more likely to listen to you and to do what you ask because they trust you because you've had fun together. This book is mostly for classroom teachers. Some of the tools in this book you wouldn't be able to do as an occasional teacher. For example, I recommend using a token system with some students if where, if they have a hard time, say, coming into the classroom, then you give them a token for getting to the door and a token for getting to the,
Mm-hmm.
their desk, and a token for sitting down. And,
Mm-hmm.
when they have, 4 tokens, then they're allowed whatever, whatever you've agreed on together. So maybe 5 minutes on the iPad, or maybe they get to pick where they sit, whatever you guys have agreed. So that only works if you're in the classroom day after day. That's something that you build on. But then there's other tools in here that an occasional teacher could also use. Just really easy incentives, small children like grade 1 and 2, they'll do anything for a sticker. Everyone knows that trick, that tool, but that's just an example. There's lots of tools where anyone could use them. There's one student, I write about him in the book. I was doing special ed that year. I was going into classrooms and supporting students who needed extra help. And he needed a lot of extra help. He was in grade 1. And so I would go into his classroom, but actually it worked a lot better when I withdrew him and we would do math and language together. Um, and he really had a hard time sitting still. And so one of the things we'd do is we'd go around collecting some of the dead flies from the school, and we do math with dead flies. 2 dead flies plus 2 dead flies is 4 dead flies, and he'd do a whole paper. It was difficult to get him to do anything, and that was fun for him. And partway through the year, he was assessed by one of the school psychologists, who assessed him as being depressed and suicidal, which was shocking for me because I didn't realize how bad it was. Like, he and I had fun together and I withdrew him, but obviously he was having deeper issues than I was aware of. He definitely needed more help than I could give him, but the help I was giving him was helping. So
Right.
I think that really stands out in my mind. It's so difficult trying to balance the needs of the whole classroom if you have a really high needs student. Because it's true, it feels like most of your energy is going to that one student. 90% of your energy is going to one student, and then the other 24 students like get 10% of your energy. Like, that does happen, and especially at the beginning. So that's why I talk about, there's so many different tools you can try. And then also I do recommend in the book, like, sometimes you need to be the squeaky wheel to get more help. Like, sometimes you do need more help, and more help is available through the board. Like, they have CYWs and SNAs, and they have, EAs. They have just lots of people who can help, but it's a matter of where the resources are allocated. So I do recommend, like, you can keep track of the different behaviors. And when you present it, they call it bringing it to team, where they decide what more help the student needs. Like, if you keep track, then you can get more help, And I recommend, talk with a school psychologist, talk with a principal. Like, there is more help out there, and a lot of times we need it. I really believe that to be a teacher, you need to love your kids. Like, your students. That's sort of taboo to say right now, but I really believe the heart of teaching is the love of children. And children need the love. Like, we're with them, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, with them a lot. We're a big influence in their life. They need us to love them, and so, like, when they feel like they don't connect with their teacher, that's a huge loss in their life. Because I'd have to say it's the rare student who hasn't felt connected to at least one teacher. Like, they know what it is to connect with a teacher, and for sure they know what it is to connect with an adult. And so it's just so important to their emotional health that we're connected with them. And as teachers who mostly love our students, hopefully most teachers love their students. Like, that's also important to us, simply because we're people who care. Students learn better and feel more secure when they know we're on their side. Every student has something they love. And so when we can find what they love, we can connect with them.
Mhm.
So, they may love, anime, the Japanese cartoons, and that might be the only thing we can find they love. And so if we want to connect with them, that means we as teachers find out about anime. We go on YouTube and we watch a bit of what it is that they love so that we have something to talk with them about. Because when they understand that we looked into what they love, they understand that they're important to us.
Mhm.
So I think I would just encourage teachers that are having a really difficult time, perhaps with one or two students, is to find the hook, find what they love, and learn about it so that they know that we're interested in them, and that goes a long way to them coming around to our side, wanting to do what we ask.